Alright, journey to my benches. Summer 2014 update. We'll go ahead and start. Bug in my mouth. Go ahead and start with this Japanese maple. This is not a blood good, I don't believe. I was told it was either a Crimson Queen or a Fire Glow. Now, these leaves are obviously on here because I cut all the trunk back. That is the actual size of the leaf that was on this tree before I did my cutting back of everything, so you can see it's pretty small. So it should hopefully, go back to where it belongs, but for now I'm just kind of letting it grow freely so we can get some kind of idea of a design for the branching on this tree. Next is the little black pine that's got a pile of weeds in here. I need to come back here and do some weed pulling. But I'm getting a lot of rain recently, so weeds are just completely out of control here. Bear with me so I can uncover what we're looking at. And there's a nice little trunk in the bari. Go. And as you can see, even though I cut this thing back, it is back budding profusely. It's got back buds everywhere. I'm gonna have to come back in here and do some thinning and some pulling of some old needles and start doing some reduction techniques on this tree. But see, I cut this main needle here, and now I've got two secondaries, and we're gonna have to do some more work on this one. This is the apex. I've got this. I cut this main candle, and now I've got this one, this one, this one, and this one. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to end up removing this one and this one, and keep the weaker candles. I got another really weak bud right down here in between these needles that we might just try to get it to pop this year so we can even go back further. Alright, this is the Japanese red pine. As you can see, it seems to be doing well. It had lots and lots of candle growth this spring as well. A lot of candle extension even. And I've cut those back just like I did the black pine, and you can see there's a bud right here that's popping right next to it. Trying to get some back budding going on here. You can see I cut these back, and there's a back bud right there that's popping. So hopefully this thing will do its deal and we'll get a lot of back budding. I was hoping for maybe some back budding down lower on the branching, but I don't think that's going to happen. Next year I think what we're going to try to do with this tree is do some grafting. Try to graft way back on the branches. I want to graft clear back to here so I can get everything nice and compact again, so we can move towards a design on this tree. So, red pine. Next up is the trident maple that I did the thread graft on. It was not a very happy tree in the beginning of this season. I think it got a little cold for it. But since then I've gotten a branch pop here. I've gotten a branch pop here, which is great. My thread graft was alive, but I don't think it is anymore, so we'll have to maybe try again next year on that. Or realistically, we can just go with this branch here and this branch here, and then the apex. The old apex was right here and it wasn't doing too well, and this one popped below it, so I just kept it and removed that one. I need to get some back budding or something back here on the back side of this and work on maybe some back branching for the tree. So that's what we got there. Let's see, where is that coming from? That's emanating from this part of the tree. I've got another complete top that popped right here as well. So I've got a couple branches there that I can work with. Next up is the Sharp's Pygmy, looking a little sad right now. We got some rain last night, so it's got a little bit of dieback inside the canopy, which is typical with this tree. What this tree does is it puts out a huge flush of growth all over the place, and then the outer portion of the tree chokes out the light and the air to the inner portion of the tree, and of course those leaves die back, and that's kind of the phase that this is going through right now. So need to look at this one as well, maybe do some more cutting back on it, getting it pushed back in towards the tree itself even more so than it is now, and do some thinning. Up next is the other trident, the Big Daddy Trident maple. Doing well. I keep getting hundreds of little buds popping all over the place. I keep removing them and pinching them, and they just keep coming up everywhere. As you can see, there's a whole mess of them. I just removed this whole lot about 2 weeks ago, and now it's coming back out again. So, you know, the tree is healthy, it's doing well. I'm going to need to start thinking about maybe starting to wire some of these branches that I'm wanting to keep into position before too long, before they get too large or too stiff to wire. Apex is growing fine. It's reaching for the sky, so that's doing good. So just keep progressing with that thing. It's a massive trunk to work with. So, next is the American elm. It has thickened up considerably up here. So now we've got a good transition girth from where it was cut now to this portion of the apex, which is awesome. I'm thinking right up in here is probably where the top of the tree is going to be. I was just letting all of this grow completely free in order to get that thickness that I was wanting up here at the apex. So my thought is I'm probably going to be cutting it back this fall somewhere right in here, and then building more ramification up. So that one's pretty close to being finished as far as the major growing work for branching as well as apex is concerned. This one's going to be, main focus on this one here is going to be ramification and fine traceries of twigs next year. So doing well. This here is a Stewardia. It's just one that I've been fooling around with. I've got this tree at the same time as the small black pine. They were about the same size as far as trunk diameters. It's starting to get a fairly decent trunk on it. I mean, it's maybe 2 inches around. I left these lower branches on here as sacrifice branches. I did make a cut on this tree right here 2 years into its growth, so I could put a little bit of movement in the lower part of the tree here. And I'm going to need to do that again up here and then let it grow freely again, which in turn will help thicken up the branches. Looks like I got a little dieback on this tree with this low branch here. I don't know what the heck's going on. It's just the low branch. As you can see, it's deciding it's not wanting to live anymore, which is fine. I mean, I was going to probably remove it this year anyway, to be quite honest. So I don't know if that's just from, well, the soil's nice and moist, so not sure exactly what the deal is there. But anyway, it's just something I'm playing with, not something I'm considering even remotely close to being a finished tree. Next up's Trident Maple. The main Trident Maple I've been working on. As you can see, its apex is taking off again, and today I'm actually going to be trimming it back again, just to keep all this stuff in check. I don't want this apex to get too large or too out of control or too unruly. I want to keep it trim back, trim back, trim back. I'm letting this one here grow freely, as you can see, because it's going to be a thread graft for me on this tree. The 2 thread grafts that I had on here this year did not take. This is our main branch over here on this side of the tree. Excuse me while I pull these weeds out. It's getting ridiculous. I haven't been able to get out of here as much as I need to. I need to cut this back today as well. We're going to bring this one in the shop and start looking at it a little bit more for today's one of the videos I'm going to shoot today. And up next is the, not sure exactly what species this is just yet. I'm leaning more towards Kashima. Because as you can see, these leaves are just very small and compact, and knowing that the Kashima is a basally dominant plant, And as you can see, the apex of this thing, although I have experienced some dieback on some twigs up here, there's a lot of them that are still viable. They're just not growing as well as the base of the tree, which I knew would happen this year because we did remove a ton of rootage off of the tree. So I'm believing this is a Kashima, just because if you look up here at the base, at the apex where most trees are apically dominant, it's going to have a ton of leaves and everything. This one does not. I anticipate having to do some wiring of some branches into position next year for the design of the tree, which is, you know, something I was planning on doing anyway. And so we'll have our work cut out for us on this tree. But I'm hoping that everything goes well. It's doing well this year. Everything's growing according to what I was hoping it would do. You know, worst case scenario, the whole top and the whole center died out, and that's not what we have. We do have some healing around the wound sites, the cut sites, so I know that it's getting energy into these areas, which is promising. So I think we're going to be okay on this tree as well. It's doing really well. Next up, the Chinese elm that we just got done doing last week. As you can see, even though we've cut a bunch off, it's already starting to push some more buds here where we don't necessarily want them to grow. This is going to be a continuing thing with this tree for the rest of the season. It reacts to our actions. Our action was to reduce a bunch of the foliage. Its reaction is to put out more. And right next to it is the Sengukaku, Japanese maple. Here's the new apex that we wired into position. It's doing great, and you know, all these long branches here that we left on the tree are just continuing to grow. No dieback or no weird stuff going on with it so far, so I think we're good to go there. Just going to leave it alone and let it grow. This is another tree that we're going to work on today. This is the chalk bark maple. It's got way too much long gangly growth again, so we're going to have to cut this one back and get it back into shape where it belongs. And so yeah, we're going to be working on that one today as well. Starting to get a lot of growth of moss on the trunk. I'm going to have to figure out what I can do about that. I don't like the moss per se, but I love the lichens. It's got lots of lichen growth underneath here, so I mean, that's maybe is going to be the trade-off. To keep the lichens, I'm going to have to kind of let the moss do its thing. Look at that lichen growth there. I love that. That gives a real good appearance of great age. I'm going to possibly do some carving to this here today as well. So we'll see what happens. Okay, next. This is the Journey to the Nursery Trident Maple that we did a couple years back. As you can see, it's doing great. There's the apex. It's almost 15 feet up there probably, if I had to guess. I think it's 15 feet to the peak of my roof, and it's just a few feet below that, so it's doing well. It's thickening up nicely. It's got a long way to go before it'll be a realistic transition from the trunk to the apex, but making progress. Base on this tree's massive. It's going to be a formal upright tree, of course, as you can already figure it out, just because of, you know, what we got to work with. It's a ramrod straight trunk, so we got a ramrod straight tree. But it's, you know, it's a way for you to get nice material on the cheap. It just takes a little while to develop. Number one branch here is growing out, and just we're just going to continue to let it grow freely so it'll thicken up. For some reason my thread grafts aren't taking this year. It's not dead, but it's not doing well. Not really sure why. A couple years back they were doing just fine. You can see the healing that we've got from where we did the carving and the reduction on this tree, so it's moving along just fine. I'm thinking maybe because we had such a cold spring with some frost and some snow and whatnot, these thread grafts didn't get a chance to do what they were really wanting to do, so I'm thinking maybe that's why they didn't take. But we've got, for instance, this one right here, just a growing whip. I can utilize that as a thread graft next year to get some branches in the back. However, The reason I thread grafted this back here is because I wanted to get some branches in the back. Now I've got a dormant bud right here that's actually popped, and I've got these branches down here that have come out, so I may not necessarily need this here. I'd like to have it there, but it's just not doing what I was hoping it would do. Next up's Pyracantha. We've trimmed this one back, kind of kept it in check. I removed the really long growth off of here so I could start maybe developing a little ramification. Not really sure that I'm going to actually keep that branch. I don't know if it's going to be good for the overall design. I would like to, and I'd like to develop this whole area in here to kind of, you know, in my opinion right now, this side is the lower side. If you eliminate that branch, I don't know. We're going to look at that. That's my dog hollering at a squirrel. He's found a squirrel. So we're going to keep on developing that one, and we'll see what happens. Next up is the hornbeam. This thing exploded with growth again this year. It's doing great. I've already had to cut it back twice to try to keep it in check, and it's just continuing to put out these long shoots all over the place. So we're going to need to do some work to it today as well, just to keep it all in check. Where I did that main chop, it's healing still, continuing to heal, so that's a good sign. We just got tons and tons of growth on it. Again, I don't know what's going on, but back here at the back, for some reason I got some dieback. Some of these trees are doing that, and I don't understand exactly why. It's not fungal, it's just, I guess they're compartmentalizing the growth in some areas. Maybe there's some damage that I don't see right off the bat to that area, but no big deal. There's tons more branches to fill in where that one has died off, so no biggie. We'll continue to work on these guys and go from there. A couple other trees that really don't matter much at the moment. This is that willow-leafed oak tree that I got from the nursery for basically $10. You know, it's got a 2.5 inch trunk on it for $10. I couldn't pass it up. It was just one of those deals where it was like, you know, hey, we'll get it, we'll try it. Never seen a willow-leafed oak per se. Now that the leaves have come out, I know we have these actually here native in South Carolina, so it's another native species. Not necessarily one that I'm going to be working on or keeping. Just got it for the heck of it, just to see the growth habits and all on an oak tree. But it's got lots and lots of branches, as you can see. And so we'll either keep an eye on this one or eliminate it from the collection. I actually need this. I need the bench space that these three trees are on here, so we're going to have to do something with them. This thing got attacked by squirrels this year. This is actually an Acer campestre, which is a hedge maple. It's the only hedge maple that I have. So I'm not real happy about the squirrels deciding that they wanted to eat the bark. Just about ring this one here. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this tree. I'm thinking about possibly putting it in the ground so it can have a better chance. I'm thinking of possibly it comes up and does a drastic turn to the left. I'm thinking of possibly keeping maybe this or this one here, since it doesn't have any damage. They're in about the same location down here at the bottom, and just cutting it back. You can see right here where the squirrels chewed it also. It's almost completely healed back over though, so I'm thinking maybe this tree needs to get chopped here and then let one of those take off in the ground so it'll get thick real fast, because these do get thick real fast. But back here in the shade where it is currently, it's not, I mean, it's doing okay. It's just, it's a tree that I've always wanted that I've never been able to find. I was able to get a seedling, and this is what I've been able to develop in the last couple years. So I think we need to work on that one and give it a direction and let it take off. This tree here is a crepe myrtle. You've seen it before. It's got an awesome nabari. Really, really awesome nabari on it, as you can see. This tree is not a tree I'm going to be keeping. This tree is actually going to get eliminated from the collection. I'm either going to maybe post it on eBay for sale, or if there's somebody here local that's interested in maybe a decent crepe myrtle bonsai tree, this would definitely be the one. I'm going to let it bloom, and then I'm going to cut it way back, and as you can see, I did that last year, and it will back bud on the old wood, so that's kind of the goal for this tree. Just kind of get it in order, get it back in line, and eliminate it. Like I said, I need this bench space. I've got a couple trees that I'm wanting to bring in. One of them is a massive Chinese elm, and it is a cork bark Chinese elm. It's got corkier bark than even what this one does, and the trunk on it's about the size of this trident maple, maybe a little bit larger. It's between this trident maple and the hornbeam in this trident maple. I mean, the trunk on the thing's enormous. So I need to work on getting that over here. So that's pretty much it. It's summer update, journey to my benches 2014. Everything's doing well. Got a couple setbacks, which is not a big deal. But yeah, everything's doing pretty good. Thanks for watching.